Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about Chien-Pao, Baxcalibur, my favorite archetype right now in the game, and you guys seem to absolutely love it when I talk about it. So today I'm going to talk to you exactly what is Chien-Pao Baxcalibur, how the deck works as a whole, looking at the recent results that's happening in the big events. It's got back-to-back top 8 placements in America and doing incredibly well in the local scene. So Chien-Pao is doing incredibly well right now in the format. We're also breaking down a couple of the deck archetypes, talking about the pros and cons, and which is exactly the best way to play Chien-Pao Baxcalibur, as well as looking into the future and kind of giving my final thoughts about how the deck is going to progress as the meta evolves. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's break down exactly what is Chien-Pao Baxcalibur. So how do you play it? Well, Chien-Pao EX is one of the strongest EXs got released in Palkia Evolved. 220 EX, 2-prize Pokemon, which is about the norm for these two prizes, with two incredible things going for it. Shivery Chill, which is an amazing ability which lets you, if it's in the active spot, search your deck for 2 basic water energies and put them into your hand. This goes incredibly nicely into its secondary attack for 2 water, 60 damage, times the amount of water energies you discard for all your Pokemon in play. Now, you can play Shivery Chill once and attach both of its energies to 120 damage. That doesn't seem too powerful. Well, you team up with its 2 best friends, Baxcalibur and Radiant Greninja. Baxcalibur lets you as often as you like during your turn. You may attach up to as many basic water energies from your hand to your Pokemon in play. Now, this is very, very strong. 2 Shivery Chills instantly goes, if you just don't use any of them, attach them to your Chien-Pao and your Pokemon and discard them in play. You're doing 240 damage, carrying pretty much every single basic 2-prize Pokemon. Now, if you discard 5, you can own VSTARs by doing 300 damage. And then if you discard 6 energies, you're doing that magic 360 damage, carrying likes of Charizard, Mew VMAX, and Gardevoir. Very, very, very powerful things. You have Greninja, which is an incredible good draw engine, which lets you discard a card from your hand and get it to draw 2 cards. Discard a water energy. Now, this works really well. You can use Shivery Chill, attach the Chien-Pao, and then discard the other one with concealed cards. Try and draw into more energies, get that setup possible. So it's a really, really good draw synergy that the deck already has built in. But how do we get all those combo pieces constantly throwing? Well, we have Irida. Irida is an amazing supporter card which lets you search your deck for a water Pokemon and an item card, reveal them, and put them into your deck. This can get you a Rare Candy and a Baxcalibur, so instantly get the setup turn 2 Baxcalibur as quick as possible. It can also get you another Chien-Pao. It can get you some switching cards. It can also get you any sort of card you might potentially need of an item card, which is very, very strong with Irida, as well as also about Lost Vacuum to bump that pesky path to peak, which can really slow down the archetype. But we also have superior energy retrieval, which is why we can constantly streamline these attacks. By discarding 2 cards from your hand, we get to search our discard pile for 4 basic energies and attach them to put them into your hand. This is very, very strong. You can constantly streamline your Hellblade along with some Shivery Chill to get that 360 damage, easily get those big one-hit kills turn after turn after turn. In theory, this seems absolutely very, very strong, and it's had incredible good success. If we just look at the results right now, it went NEIC when it was first legal. It got a top 16, top 32, and a couple top 64 placements. At Worlds, again, it got top 16, a couple top 32, and 1 top 64. And the last couple of regionals and special events, it got 2 top 8s, 5 top 32s, and 3 top 64s. This is an incredible showing for a deck. A lot of people did write off very, very early on in the metagame, and it's really shown and proving loads of people wrong by doing incredibly, very powerful, by one version of the deck definitely going up on top. The best version right now to play is being dubbed Canadian Chien-Pao. This deck is very, very turbo-driven. I like sometimes to call it Turbo Chien-Pao, and it rose to fame a lot from the World Championships. The idea is you play a 3-2 split of the Frigibacks by making sure you're protected by likes of Sableye, Bibarel to draw through lots of cards, and a ton of item cards, nearly 30 item cards. Try and draw through your deck as much as possible and easy burn effects. Now, how do we get all these item cards? Well, we have Pokestop, which lets you look at the top 3 cards of your, discard the top 3 cards of your deck and add any item cards you may find in there. And as you, like I said, we play a ton of item cards, so it's very, very easy for it to kind of go. With lots of recovery cards for Pokemon and water energies like Super and Superior Energy Retrieval, you're okay against them just cards. You can easily recover them in the late game. But we do play a very limited amount of supporter cards. Like I mentioned, Irida is the backbone of exactly how this deck functions, so it's incredibly good to play the top 4 of as well. And Iona, you may think, oh, disruptive capability at the start of the game, at the end of the game. No, it's really helpful that draw at the start of the game. The deck absolutely really struggles if we don't get like at least a couple of Frigibacks down, some Bidoofs, some Radiant Greninjas if you need one as well, also Manaphy if possible. So drawing into all your Battle VIP paths and Nestballs in the early game is really, really crucial for your setup. So that's one of the reasons why I think this deck is so strong. One of the weaknesses of Chien-Pao is you'll constantly be attacking with a basic two prize Pokemon, which is very easy to KO. So if we can weave in a couple Radiant Greninjas and Baxcaliburs to attack, you're in a very, very good spot. Some pros of the deck I generally think is definitely a huge item cut draw through likes of Pokestop. It is very, very quick to set up, but playing multiple burning card options, getting your Bibberals and everything like that, you could definitely set up as much as you can as early as possible. And you can go through multiple Greninjas in the game. By that cancelling clone cross switcher play, as you can see here, makes the deck really, really functional to get around those pesky Menifees and make the likes of the Charmanders on the bench, which aren't set up with Charizard, as well as also the Curlies for Gardevoir, really easy matchups, which makes it one of Chien-Pao's strongest matchup. Although saying that, one of its weaknesses, it is very weak if it's not set up correctly. If you miss a turn 2 Baxcalibur or even miss a two Friggies on the bench and the opponent takes one of them, it could really, really fall behind very, very easily. And that makes the inconsistencies of draw in the early and mid game very, very weak. Due to the fact that you haven't got your setup and not just having the only cards being in your deck, it could become very, very difficult to constantly streamline these attacks, and that's the reason why Chien-Pao can sometimes fall a little bit flat. But there are some people around that which have found a way to make this version of the deck a little bit more consistent. They're adding the likes of a 1/1 line of Arceus and a Luminion in the deck. Arceus is very, very powerful by having that Starburst ability, lets you get any two cards you want to have from the deck. This helps you get the combo piece, to get the Radiant Greninja attack turn 2 by getting potentially the cross switcher or the cancelling clone, which you really need for the attack, or potentially like the Irida to get the Baxcalibur Rare Candy. This version is very, very strong as well, but only having a Luminion to get the Irida makes it even stronger to constantly get out as quick as possible your setup. Now, I really like this deck here, but the really limited about this version is the bench space, and that's one of the weaknesses I think about this deck. It's another two prize Pokemon in the field, and it takes up the bench space. It's a crucial idea, because if you want to have at least two Baxcaliburs on the bench, maybe a Bibberl, your Radiant Greninja, and potentially you're going to have a backup attacker as well, or even just additional attacker or another Chien-Pao, it could be very, very weak for your setup, or if you need that Manaphy. And Arceus will be taking up one of those spots, which is why I think that could really, really hinder your setup completely. But one of the pros is you do have a really easy way to get that combo, to get a Bax turn 2 and a Greninja, and it could be really, really powerful in the late game if there's no path to the peak. And it is a higher HP attacker, which can do 200 damage, which pretty much KOs most things in the metagame, which is a single prize Pokemon. But that's not the only way to play Chien-Pao. This is a list which I've been really enjoying to play, and this plays the likes of Origin from Palkia and going back to roots of playing Lost City. The reason why the Lost City is really powerful in this one, it makes some decks which you already had a good matchup even greater. With Gardevoir matchup as well, it makes it a much, much stronger version of the deck. By getting a Greninja play KOing to Curlies and putting them into the Lost Zone, all of a sudden Gardevoir players have two less Curlies, two less Gardevoirs for them to even have access to, and streamlining the likes of Vashion can be very, very detrimental to their gameplay. This is one thing I absolutely love about it, but the problem is we play a lot more supportive draw in this one, which makes some of the item cards and their draws a little bit more or less consistent. We do add a 1/1 line of Bibberl because I think it's still really powerful, because the deck is incredibly weak if someone Judge Paths you or Judge Ionas you. It's where one of the real bad consistencies about where Chien-Pao can really shine. And that's kind of like outlined it in this deck here. It's very, very powerful Palkia because it's really good in the mid to late game, because you have access to its own VSTAR ability, which lets you attach 3 water energies from your discard pile to your Pokemon any way you like to play. Like I mentioned, Lost City makes your Gardevoir even more favorable, and it's another very, very strong attacker option. Palkia could do 260 damage, doesn't KO nearly everything, but it does KO on multiple big threats in the metagame right now. Obviously, some of the cons are, unfortunately, the relevant weakness on Palkia. Miraidon is doing incredibly well, getting, I think, its worst best placement finished in the last couple of regionals has been like a top 4, which is very, very strong for how Miraidon's doing over there in America. Path shots this deck even further down by shutting down Palkia and even Luminions is really, really detrimental to your play, and you rely too much on your supporters to have that draw and setup, which is one of the only things I do think is a bit of a pros and cons of this deck here. And again, like I mentioned before, it takes up that valuable bench space, which is what this deck really, really struggles with if it doesn't have access to it. Now, if we look at this matchup-wise here, I've mentioned quite a lot of time, Charizard and Gardevoir are very, very favorable matchups. By them having quite a weak sort of attackers and with HP, Chien-Pao can easily get those big one-hit KOs. But don't be fooled, Gardevoir can easily go back to an even spot if they are constantly streamlining the Gardevoirs, not damaging too much by using the likes of the reversal energies and Shining Arcanas. Using a Gardevoir which doesn't have 90 HP left can very really be struggling to get those big one-hit KOs what Greninja has to offer. And Charizard isn't KOing you until you've taken 2 prizes and you're playing multiple sort of cross switches, cancelling clone options. You can easily get some KOs on the Charmanders, the Pidgeys on the bench. And even matchups with definitely the likes of Lost Tina, Mew, and Arceus builds. Lost Zone Tina is definitely kind of a lot more even and favorable. If they play a high counter path deck, it could be very, very, very difficult to constantly be bumping their path, so you can constantly use your Shivery Chill, but you can easily get those big one-hit KOs and get some Greninja plays as well. Mew as well, you've got to really think about your price mapping for Mew. Now, if they've got a fusion build, you can go the one Meloetta, one Mew, and one Genesect, which is definitely the more sort of common route to go with it. You don't really want to be taking multiple prizes when you need to do it. You could potentially go to 3 Genesects or 2 Mew VMAXs. You can easily get big one-hit KOs on them, but if they are going with the rise of DTE, kind of being a lot more popular, getting top 4 over in America and doing very, very well over there in Japan, don't be surprised if Mew becomes kind of like maybe slipping towards unfavorable, as DTE could be very, very detrimental to your setup. Arceus builds, it definitely depends on what version you have. Arctina, which constantly can spam the likes of Path to Peak, can be really, really hard for you to set up, but it can easily fall into a more favorable matchup if they miss an attack, or if they can't really streamline their Giratina attack again and again and again. So the unfavorable matchups, what I found, I do think the Colorless Lugia and even the likes of Single Strike, I really, really struggled against the archetype. I think it could be very, very powerful because the likes of they can easily get these big one-hit KOs back again and again and again, and you're very, very weak. So pretty much anything can get a KO, including Lugia with just 4 colors entries attached to it. Lost Box, like I mentioned, is very, very scary, and it's doing incredibly well right now in the metagame by getting pretty much back-to-back wins over there in America. By a constant streamline of lost mining your Friggies, by lost mining your bibs, it's very, very difficult to constantly have a setup because they can get turn after turn after turn, attack any of your setup attacking. Miraidon is definitely, sometimes it could be even, I found sometimes it could be very unfavored. If it's a Judge Path deck, it's very, very difficult to constantly be bumping up for it. They can get big one-hit KOs on you, and pretty much you have to discard 5 energies. If they have that lovely band attached to it, it's very, very difficult to constantly be going through your Miraidons. It's similar like of a Telian Urshifu. These have very, very high HP, which you're going to still get to it, but with the likes of Yoga Looping, as well as also the bench sniping, they can easily potentially steal an extra turn as well, a KO in your Manaphy, and then going into a lovely G-Max Rapid Try flow with the Urshifu, potentially can take multiple prizes, which can really, really go into the dumps. So like I mentioned, if you look at this matchup here, Charizard Gardevoir is probably about 25% of the meta anyway, so you pretty much have a good matchup against potentially about a quarter of what decks you might face with it. Even as well, Giratina and Mew is kind of going up there. Maybe even you're going towards maybe like 50% of the metagame. You have an okay matchup. But with the likes of Lugia, Lost Box, and Miraidon, which are very, very popular, very, very good decks, and you have very, I feel like, unfavorable matchups against it, Chien-Pao can definitely struggle with it. But there are some cards in the future which can really, really help the metagame for Chien-Pao. And that is a card which a lot of people have talked about, Iron Hands. This is before, obviously, it's now had its new name, Amp You Very Much, which I generally think is one of the best names but Pokemon has ever created with it. Now, obviously, Iron Hands is very, very strong. 120 damage to take additional prize card, that's very, very powerful. We're turning that up with the Future Energy Capsule by doing 20 more damage and having free retreat it. All of a sudden, you have a free retreat pivot for the deck, which I feel like this deck is constantly needed by. Instead of keeping an energy attached on the board, you can only attach ones you need to have if you have Iron Hands out there, be your free retreat pivot option. And that does 140 damage, which I love about it, because that gets a big KO on Gardevoirs. That is exactly where you want to go with it, as well as also the Shiny Arcana Gardevoirs. So getting 2 prizes that way is incredibly powerful. I always found out Chien-Pao, I want to have a single prize Pokemon or a Pokemon that can do 140 damage to KO a full HP Shiny Arcana Gardevoir. It also is very, very powerful, and it makes your Lugia matchup a little bit better, but potentially taking 3 prizes from having this boost catcher attached to it is very, very strong. Now, there are some limits to it. You're going to be potentially adding 1 or 2 Iron Hands, at least 1 or 2 of these capsules, and 1 or 2 Lighting Energy. That's 6 cards you also need to add into the deck, potentially even an Earthen Vessel, which is potentially 7 to 8 cards. You need to also add to a very, very refined list. I know a lot of people are kind of like going with it, cutting some sort of version of the deck, so it will be a lot different version of how the archetype is kind of going with it. But how powerful this card is and how much people are scared of it in the metagame, I think it will be incredibly powerful in Chien-Pao. Potentially even might make Chien-Pao one of the strongest decks right there in the format. Like I mentioned before, Earthen Vessel is very, very strong. It's basically Shivery Chill, but if you discard a card for it, you can discard a Water Energy to fuel up Superior Energy Retrieval and get 2 energies made, like that 1 Lightning Energy and a Water Energy. Then also use Shivery Chill. You've got the energies you need exactly for Iron Hands. You also have this other Chien-Pao, which I think is a nice inclusion as a single price attacker. Snowbug, attack up to 2 basic water energies from a discard pile to your Pokemon. Very, very powerful in the early game if you go first. And you also got attack with 130 damage, and you get to discard 2 water energies from this Pokemon. I quite like it. I also like the Veluza, like I mentioned a couple of days ago, which has 140 damage for 4 energies and has an energy protection on it. But I generally do think that right now in the meta game, Iron Hands could be a very good inclusion to Chien-Pao Baxcalibur, and potentially could be a really scary way of how the deck is going to evolve. So if we just look ahead on the deck, I generally do think that turbo build of Chien-Pao is the strongest archetype right now. The huge capability of getting these big combo pieces turn after turn after turn, and being a huge threat right now to better game, is incredibly powerful. It still needs to have path counters. You need to pay at least one. I always like to pay 1 Lost Vacuum and potentially 3 to 4 Stadium cards. You want to always have more outside the path of the peak than the opponent can really play with it, because this deck absolutely breaks incredibly hard if it has no access to Shivery Chill or has concealed cards access to it. I think a new single prize attacker is kind of really this matchup. Because if you go Chien-Pao, Chien-Pao, Chien-Pao to attack, if you think about the likes of Gardevoir or even the likes of Miraidon, if any of them get the first turn attack, you instantly could really lose a prize trace. And that's one of the things I generally do not like about Chien-Pao. But it is one of the best and most fun deck to play right now in the format. It is so fun. Like, if you don't draw into it, you're still having a lot of fun. There's a lot of thought and thinking about this deck. And I really hope this video has helped give some insight exactly why I think Chien-Pao is one of the strongest decks right now in the format. Doing incredibly well, back-to-back top 8 placements. Potentially, we could see another one right now in Sacramento this weekend. I really, really hope so. And the deck is just going from strength to strength, I feel like, every single time. And definitely, I'm really excited to try out more of a turbo build. I'm really excited to see how the deck is going to evolve with Iron has been added to the archetype later next month. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please comment down below, what is your favorite way to play Chien-Pao? Mine generally might be going towards turbo. I love the Palkia build with the Lost City, but I do think the turbo build is the strongest build right now. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll be back in a couple of days' time for another video. Bye for now.